Everything said on the Couplings Fire Podcast are our opinions, and in no way represent the opinions and values of any agency we are associated with.
Hey, this is the Couplings Fire Podcast.
Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Taylor.
We're married.
And we're both firefighters.
Join us as we talk anything and everything fire-related.
Based out of small town, rural Nebraska, we bring our unique challenges and solutions to the table every episode.
Our goal? To better the rural volunteer firefighting community, one person at a time.
Let's get on to the episode. This episode of our podcast is brought to you by the refreshing opening sounds of a Bud Light Lime.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
On to the next one then. So, after all that, honey, what are we talking about tonight?
You guys get to listen to us. Well, if we haven't mentioned this podcast, I'm Taylor.
Yep, and I'm Chris.
We're kind of bad at doing that, I think, on our first few. We'll get better at that.
Well, you gotta start in somehow.
Yeah.
So, intro music is a must. So, in our podcast, tonight we are just gonna cover some basic tips for the new firefighter.
The new volunteer firefighter.
The new volunteer firefighter.
Ew, that was gross.
You're welcome.
You just burped.
You're over it. And so, yeah, I'm Chris, and this is Taylor.
Hi.
And so we'll jump into it here. Try to keep a little lightheaded. It's kind of a serious, somewhat serious. Some of the tips are serious.
Yeah.
Some of the tips are fun. I don't know. We'll just jump into it and see where it goes.
We're going to see how this goes. Good luck.
Stick with us. It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it. So, we've been on the volunteer department if you've listened to the first podcast. If you haven't listened to our first podcast, what are you doing? Go back and listen to that. Come on.
Because that's all the basics.
That's all the basics. You get to actually learn about us, and you get to actually see our crazy selves before we get to this point.
Before we get even more crazier.
So, we've been on, collectively about 15 years total between the two of us?
15 years experience between the two of us. Yeah.
So I've been on for about 7 or 8. You've been on for about 8 or 9. Somewhere around there. So we're going to say about 15 years.
9. I've been on for 9.
You've been on for 9?
Yep.
9?
9.
9. So I think we have some good insight to this. And then before we were both on, I started out as just a firefighter wife, not being involved in anything. Then I went on to being an auxiliary wife with Chris still being on the fire department, and then I became a firefighter myself. So I have a lot of different perspectives on this. I've been on all sides of a lot of things, and so I kind of have the ability to go back to when I was just a firefighter wife and knowing how they think, wondering different things that we're going to be able to touch on here. So, anyways.
You're getting ahead of your schedule.
Sorry.
So there's a little bit of background information for you already.
Yes.
So you may not have to go back and listen to the first one, though we highly recommend it.
Yes, but that will get you through this episode if nothing else.
So, our tips and tricks. I don't know.
Not really tricks. Just tips.
There might be some tricks in here. You never know.
Nah. Trick or treat.
Not Halloween. So, we'll start going through our list here, see where it leads us, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, yeah. The first thing that we see as senior firefighters and kind of being aware of a little bit more within the firehouse and within our ranks themselves is you as a beginner firefighter or possibly a firefighter, one of the biggest things you can do is talk to your significant other about it.
You were supposed to make this fun. You are sounding so boring right now.
Well, the first one's pretty serious.
It is pretty serious. But you sound so boring. Okay, so...
So talk to your spouse because you love them and you want them to be involved in your life.
Yes.
So make sure that you talk to your wife so you don't bring things to the fire department that cause problems, and so that your wife doesn't cause you griefs at home and you don't get any.
Because that's the big picture here is you don't get any.
That's right.
No, coming from the original firefighter wife perspective of this before I was on the department, well, granted, at that point, Chris and I were just dating. But I do see a good part of it, because even when we were engaged, even the beginnings of when we were married, I wasn't a firefighter yet. And he didn't talk to me about a lot of things. I didn't know a lot of things. He's a guy. Most of the people on fire departments are guys. It's just statistically true. Whatever.
I think you're being sexist.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to say to that.
Well, if you don't want to be if you don't want to be sexist, we will look this up here. Where is good old Google?
Good old Google?
Good old Google.
Well, everyone knows that most people in the fire department, in the fire
service,
thank you, in the fire service are guys. That is a fact.
Okay, Google. Let's see here. In 2018, 8% of firefighters were female. Of the career firefighters, 4% were female. And volunteer firefighters was 11%.
I could definitely see why volunteer is definitely way higher than career, just because you do have more opportunity to grab from people who wouldn't necessarily always think to do it as a volunteer then. Case in point, me, someone who never ever thought of doing firefighting. Whereas the career side, you're going to get people who are, honestly thought they were probably more born into it or made into it or whatever. The volunteer side, you're going to get a lot of other people from different walks of life. So, yeah, definitely talk with your spouse. Talk with them about the time commitments, talking about the dangers. A lot of the rookies might not care. A lot of the volunteer departments probably don't have a lot of big calls that are going to have a lot of dangers, but there's still dangers in it, and people need to know that.
Yeah, it's firefighting. It is a life-threatening hobby.
Yeah, there's cancer risks everywhere. There's death risks everywhere. There's occupational hazards of just getting hurt of some sort,
Most of us don't think about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
We're either young and stupid or old and don't care anymore. So we don't think about it, but it is something that does and can impact your family life for sure. So
definitely. And if we always say, put your home life first. Family comes first before fire department.
Family before fire.
Yes.
So obviously it's firefighting. On the volunteer side, it's not taken, unfortunately, as serious, but it is very dangerous, in our case, hobby. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to keep it lighthearted here, but for the seriousness of it, this job can kill you.
It can. If you guys listen to our next podcast, we're going to touch on high-risk, low-frequency events, and those things can kill you if you aren't trained for them properly.
Yep. So, now granted, I don't want to
scare anyone
off. Most of the fires you're going to see aren't going to be anything life-threatening, but things can change quickly, and you and your spouse, significant other, family, they need to be aware that there is a risk there.
Yes.
And I think that's only fair.
Yes, I think that is fully fair, and we try to let every new guy, I shouldn't say guy, to me, honestly, I'm going to keep saying guys. You're going to hear this in future podcasts. When I say guys, I mean guys and girls. I mean general
our
group,
department.
guys, yes. So if I say guys and there's tons of girls in there, I'm still saying guys because that's just the way I say
We
things.
have the masculine language.
Yes. Anyways, so, everyone on the fire department, I try to tell them when they come on, hey, so this is a thing. This can happen. It's probably not going to happen, especially with the number of calls we have. We have 30 to 50 calls a year. We don't have that many huge events in our calls.
Yeah. And most departments, I'm guessing, unless you're a bigger volunteer department, aren't going to have the call volume, and they're not going to have the risks.
Yeah, if you're like us, where you're a town of 2,000-ish people or less, running 30 to 50 calls a year, you're probably not going to have that crazy amount of dangerous calls. Yeah. But it is always possible. So.
And some little background information in case you don't know or don't follow it. Most line of duty deaths and deaths in the fire department in general are due to heart attacks.
Yes.
Because of the nature of the adrenaline and the physical push that you have to do the job.
The heat stress on you, all that stuff with it too.
Yeah, so that is a big part of it, and you can eliminate a lot of that by just being physically fit and physically active.
And eating right. And
habits.
Stuff like that,
just health in general. And the other part of that would be cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's becoming more and more common in the volunteer service, too. Just the way things are made and stuff like that anymore. I'm not going to get into it on here, but...
basically, for those of you who don't know, the new materials that furniture and houses are made with has more plastics, which is methyl ethyl bad crap, which will give you cancer and kill you. I should say could give you cancer and kill you. Could.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's becoming more prevalent. So it's something that, we encourage all of our guys. Shower when you get home. Wash off everything. Wash your gear. Wash your face masks. Blah, blah. Don't go into areas without your air pack. There's that risk in there too. So.
Yeah. So, enough said on that. There are dangers with this job. Make sure you talk to your significant other about it.
Yes.
Make sure they understand. May not be super 100% comfortable with it, but make sure you guys are on the same page.
Yes.
That leads a lot of tension within members in the department and brings a lot of different things in there. And I'll leave it at that. So.
Well, one last thing. As a former just spouse, not firefighter, make sure that your spouse has someone to call or talk to when you go out on a fire call. When I was newly in town, we had just gotten married. I didn't know anyone in this small town. Chris was on the fire department. He went on a call. I didn't know when he was coming back. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know who to call, nothing. Some things you can either give them the number to the station if somebody happens to be there. Like for us, we have someone actually run the radio here that might be able to call. They might be able to call and talk to or whatever. If there's another spouse who has been on longer, to kind of be their kind of mentor to help them being a spouse of what to expect, things like that.
Yeah, at least give them a resource where they can reach out if they get concerned or if they don't know what's going on.
Yes. I think that is a fantastic thing to give someone's spouse when they're coming on the department.
Yeah.
Give them somewhere to contact when you're on a call. Even if they can't talk to you or figure anything out, whoever they talk to is going to be able to calm them down and kind of show them the realities of things and help ease their minds.
Yep.
So.
And I was a bad spouse, and I did not do that.
You were a terrible spouse.
I didn't... In my defense, I didn't truly know what I was getting into when I got onto the department
really
either.
Didn't. Which most people don't. Like we said with guys, they don't. They don't know. Girls like to know. Stereotypically speaking, girls like to know a lot of information. Guys really don't care. They just want to go do the fun stuff. So
exactly. So the other thing about that we mentioned was the time commitment. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of other departments don't train as much as we do, but there is a time commitment. At least here, that like we've kind of stated previously, we practice once a week in the summer and once a month in the winter. There is that 2 hours a week in the summer that you spend here, and then on top of that, we have truck checks and meetings and stuff like that. So there is a time commitment to it. That's going to vary between everyone's different departments. Just make sure that your spouse and your family know that and that they're willing to put up with that.
Yeah. We have guys who will stay for, and we'll touch on this at another point we make in a couple jumps from now, but, we have guys that'll stay for several hours after practice because we're having good conversations, and we have guys who will go home right away after. And you don't have to be that same guy every time. You can stay after for practice for an hour, and then the rest of the time go home, or vice versa, you can flip-flop things around, and just basically, we're trying to help you make it balanced. It will become very important to talk and interact with the guys on the department, and we'll get into that. But the spouses need to know what time commitment can be involved with this.
Yeah, because you don't want a wife calling you every night after practice saying, hey, you need to get home now.
Yeah.
And then you complain to the other guys that, oh, she's just being her and she really doesn't mean it and all that kind of stuff. We don't want that, and we don't like hearing it. So. And ladies, I'm going to say ladies because, again, stereotypically, mostly guys in the fire departments, even volunteer, and mostly ladies back at home. Ladies, I know where you're coming from. I've been there. I'm on the other side now. Granted, most of the time I'm going to take their side, the guy's side now, just because I understand it. I do now. I really get why Chris was the way he was, why he is the way he is, why these guys are the way they are. It sucks, yes. So I'm going to kind of
try to level with you here that I do probably will agree with that more often than not, because I understand why. But we're going to try to explain to you in these reasons why. So, going on.
To the next one?
I don't know. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't think so.
Okay, so on to the next one. A tip that we have is for the new guys, jump in during practice. Don't be afraid to fail at something.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I know we're going to get into it here, but yeah, don't be afraid to jump in at practice, because the only way you learn something, and most people don't come up with a firefighting background unless you had a parent in it or something like that.
Yeah. Most people are completely new to this stuff.
Yeah, both Taylor and I are first-generation firefighters, and don't get me wrong, I hope my kid's doing stuff like that, but if you want to get in and learn this stuff and really be comfortable with it, jump in, and hopefully you're on a department where that's accepted.
Yeah.
I mean, here it definitely is. If you're a new guy and you're jumping in there and doing things, you're definitely going to get taught what you need to know.
Yeah, even if you're doing things wrong, people are still excited that you're getting up there and doing things. And if you're a little more timid or whatnot, if you're afraid to get up there in the group and go learn things, pay attention to who's actually helping teach things or who has a lot of knowledge on that department. Ask them afterwards if you want to get shown something one-on-one if you're not comfortable jumping in during practice. But please, the more and more you do these practices, try at least once in a while to be the one who jumps in. It's going to make a huge difference in your confidence.
Yeah, and even if you screw up, it's all right, because you're the new guy. That's your time to screw up. And trainings, in general, are the time to screw up. They don't...
Yes.
Officers get very upset very quickly if you're screwing up on scene. And that may not necessarily be your fault, but that's the time to do it, is at practice.
This is kind of not related, but I remember I was at one of my first fires when I was actually, it was one of the times when I was half and half photographer and half actual firefighter. And we were doing a call actually at the hospital, and the roof overheated in one of the sections. Anyways, we're trying to block traffic, and the police that we had at that time were not doing a good job at blocking the traffic for us on that particular incident. And so the chief just is like, pretty much at this point, I'm considered a rookie because I don't know dang anything. And so our chief tells me to go ahead and, to block the traffic and whatnot and stuff like that, and just kind of, he didn't really say block traffic, he said watch traffic. I didn't know what that meant. I mean, very honestly, okay, I'm going to kind of watch traffic, and I'm assuming still let it go, but just kind of watch it, whatever. He's like, and later it comes back, he's like, why'd you let that car go through? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, block traffic. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it was a little scarring for a little bit, but it's one of those things, it's like, I'm a new guy, and that, I'm expected to screw up. It's gonna happen even on scene or whatever. Granted, I would have rather it be out of practice, but I'm a new guy. It's okay to screw up.
Yep.
It's
absolutely.
gonna happen. And I have a laugh about it now. I don't know if he ever laughed about it, but I did.
But as a training officer and as a senior officer, I expect guys to screw up. If they're not screwing up, they're not getting pushed hard enough, and they're not learning anything new. Because we should be throwing things at them at training that they're having to think about, and they're gonna make mistakes. So as a rookie, you're gonna make mistakes, and as a senior firefighter, hopefully you're still making mistakes and learning from them. So probably not as many, and not the little stupid things and stuff like that, but hopefully you're still making mistakes and learning from them. So that's both for the new and for the old, I guess. So
Yeah.
You just can't be afraid to fail. I mean, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and that's how it goes. So, but that was one thing I did as a rookie, because I was very much into the fire department.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those deals I always wanted to do but never did. And so when I got on a fire department, like, I jumped into it, like, everything, because I wanted to be that guy that got to go inside, and I couldn't wait for that.
Yeah, so you guys, the reason we say this specific tip, and so far up the list, is because Chris and I were very different when we approached this one as our own rookies, as being our own rookie. Chris was the one to jump in during practice. I very much was not.
Yeah, and I got to be a part of the fire department very quickly. Guys got to know me very quickly, and I became one of the guys very quickly, because people see me more often trying to do things and learn things, and it was just a very quick transition from rookie firefighter to one of the guys.
Yeah, and for me, I honestly am a very timid person. I'm very concerned about what people think about me and failing and whatnot. Just kind of comes from my background. And so I definitely was not one of the ones to go out there and to screw up. I didn't want to screw up no matter what. I wanted to know where I was coming from and have a good plan just in case, or who knows. I wanted to analyze every section of it, whatever. So here in recent years, I've become the opposite, or tried to become the opposite. I've tried to be more like Chris the way he was when he first went on, and now of being the one to just go in and jump in and not care, and to just keep learning and to keep screwing up in practice and whatnot. And it has improved my firefighting ability and everything, and confidence so much, you guys.
Yeah.
I wish I would have started like that. If I could go back, I would switch and do that. So that is why this is so high on our list.
Yeah. And so you know where the older guys are coming from. Those are the guys that they're looking to. Because those are the guys that they know are going to really get into it and learn their stuff. And they're going to be comfortable with you because they know you know.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail. Jump in during practice and learn as much as you can there. Another tip for you. Look for ways to get involved. And this is not so much just training, but the fire department in general.
Yeah.
Because that is going to keep you in the fire service.
Yes.
Yes. So, by ways to get involved, not just, and maybe it's just getting involved with training. Maybe you've been on for a year and you just want to be more involved in the training side of it. Get involved. Really push that and find your place in the fire department.
Yeah, even if you want to get involved with training and you can't make your way in, start going to outside training. Start looking online. There, especially this last year with the whole COVID stuff going on, there's so many departments and conferences and whatnot that have moved to online stuff. Even just for them, go look up stuff on YouTube. Go look on these online conferences that people are doing. There was a smoke reading class for like $14 for like a 4-hour class. It was amazing class. I loved it. You know, you find cheap ways to do things like that. You know, I know around here there's the Kansas State Firefighter Association. They do small little classes around the state and whatnot. And since we're so close to Kansas, I go to those, you know. Start finding those other ones. If you can't get involved with the committee, start doing those.
Yeah.
Even if you can't get involved with the committee, start doing those too. But
yep. Other ways, most departments that I know of have inside committees. We refer to them as inside committees, whether it's a public relations committee, a pancake feed committee,
banquet,
any event that your specific fire department might do. Maybe you do a barbecue or something like that. Get involved in that community.
Oh yeah, fire prevention. If you guys are doing maybe grants work or something like that.
Find something that fits your little niche. For me, I work on engines, small engines, all day as a career. So here, not only did I end up getting involved in the training because of my outside experience and getting my Firefighter 1 and stuff like that, I got involved with the training, which really kind of concreted me into the fire service. But I also help maintain all our stuff here as far as our small engines go, our power units for the jaws, our pumps on our grass rigs, just mechanical skills in general. Like, that's where I found my niche. And I loved it, and that's really kept me involved in the fire department and kept me coming back and really gave me a place here. Taylor's side of it is completely different.
I am very much a computer type, logistical kind of person. I'm very planning, organized kind of person. I like all the inside stuff. That is my strong suit when it comes to the fire department. I love the outside stuff, don't get me wrong, and I'm going to push and do what I can. But the inside stuff is where I excel. That's my strong suit compared to Chris's mechanical side.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of the PR stuff. I help a lot with fire prevention, stuff like that. When it comes to any of the events, I love those. I love even helping out with, we have our tax credit that we get now that I'm in charge of, stuff like that. Like, I thrive for that type of thing. That's the way I love getting involved.
And so you found your niche on the inside stuff, but it's really given you a place in the department and made you feel valuable within the department.
Exactly. So.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next tip.
The next tip we have for you guys is listen, specifically to the older guys. They have a lot of knowledge.
Listen to the guys that you wouldn't typically love to be around.
What do you mean by that?
They're old and should be retired and don't know anything.
Like the guy who had been on here for 60 or 65 years or however long he'd been on?
Was it 65 years or 55 years?
I'm 55.
I
think you said 60 years or whatever in the first one we did.
I don't know.
We might have to amend that, but I think it was like 55. Anyways.
I think it was 55 when we retired. He was 56.
Okay.
It was 56 when he finally retired.
So we're not going to go back and fix that first podcast, but it was 56 years, not like 60 or 65, whatever we said in there. But
I don't know.
Still. Anyways, listen to them. They have a lot of knowledge. Yes, the fire service changes. Yes, things change all the time. If you guys are keeping up with any of the science, though, you're actually starting to see that they are finding that what the old guys are saying, they're starting to solidify that with science now, if you're actually paying attention. They didn't have a rhyme or reason for it before, but now they're starting to see why it's happening.
They knew it worked, so that's what they did.
They knew it worked. Well, now it's starting to get proven why it worked. And like everyone says, there's nothing that beats experience. I understand, and like you guys know, I'm a book person. That's what I have to learn from right now. But listen to those old guys. They'll tell you about the crazy situations and what they did. They'll tell you about, sometimes it's just funny, sometimes it's hilarious, the stories that they tell. And sometimes it's valuable to know.
Yeah. And yeah, you're coming from the side of knowledge there.
Yeah.
My side of it is the old guys know the traditions of the fire department.
Oh, yeah.
They know why we do stuff a certain way because this specific fire is why we do it this way now. Mm-hmm. And they can tell you about it. And like Taylor said, you may laugh at the story and have a great time because everyone tells the story a little bit different and everyone remembers something a little different about it. And you might hurt at the end of the night because you've been laughing so hard from it. But there was a reason why we changed that specific thing.
Yeah.
Or why we did it this specific way. And they know a lot of the traditions that came up with the department.
Yeah.
That if we don't listen to them, they're going to disappear.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of very cool traditions within the fire department. Mm-hmm. So that and the stories, there's a lot of little nuggets in the stories. And you will find a lot of stories very funny from them. One story that always gets told here is we had our old VFW building burnt down when those older guys were on the department, and it was so cold outside they actually had to fight the fire from the inside because the water was freezing before it could get to the building. So they actually ended up fighting that fire. I think it was a roof fire. I don't remember how it went, but I've heard it so many different times I should know. But anyway, basically, it was too cold outside to get the water there, so they actually had to end up fighting the fire from the inside of the building because it was so cold outside. And between the 4 or 5 older guys that we have on here that remember it, like, you just laugh every time you hear the story because it's just, you get these guys that are in their 60s, 70s. I think Elmer was in his 80s. Mm-hmm. And they start talking about this and getting really passionate about it, and all of a sudden they're starting to cuss and swear, and and it just gets comical. But it's a way that you can learn stuff from them, like you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a way you can relate to the department and keep certain traditions going. It's a way you can learn why you do things the way you do. And it's just good history for the department that if it doesn't get wrote down or doesn't get passed on, it's not going to stay around, and it needs to. And there's a lot more to that, I know, because I listen to old guys all the time. We'll sit around after meeting or something, have a beer, and listen to the old guys. I mean, there'll just be probably 12 of us sitting around listening to 2 of the older guys talk, and it's a good time. I mean, I don't think there's anything you could do better than listen to the old guys on the department.
Yeah, and even if you've heard the same story over and over again, you guys, even after, maybe it's after a certain call, or after you've been on several years, every time you hear that, you're going to hear something different from that story.
Absolutely, depending on where you're at in your career.
Yeah. I've heard the same story several times, and I've taken different things from it depending on how long I've been on the department.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you need. Maybe maybe you're just kind of getting down and like, well, maybe this firefighting thing isn't quite for me. And then you go and hear some of these stories or sit and talk with some of these old guys and it's like, you know what, this is worth it.
Yeah.
Just got to wait for it. So.
And that touches back to our first thing with the time commitment. Listening to these older guys, I mean, you sometimes have to stay after practice sometimes to build these bonds with these guys. Not necessarily always the old guys, but like, even just in general, your other firefighters with you.
Yeah, the fire department is a brotherhood.
Yes, and if you do not build those bonding experiences with the guys outside of practices where you're getting to know each other more on personal levels, you're not going to have that bond. It's honestly going to be harder to trust your guys that you're in with. I want to be able to trust the guys I'm with no matter what. So it's very much in my best interest to hang out with those guys, get to know them on a personal level, get to laugh with them, bond with them, you know. And so that's another thing for the spouses to realize. It is important for these guys to stay after. They don't have to stay after every time. Maybe half the time, you know. Maybe somehow make a deal like, hey, this time you come home. I really need you home this time. That's fine. Try to let them stay after. I understand maybe not wanting to stay after 4 or 5 hours after practice. Don't get me wrong, that gets annoying really fast.
I haven't personally done it, but we have practice on Monday night, and I've heard of guys going home at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, and practice ends at like 8:30 or 9, you guys.
Yeah. And they just sit around here having a good time, telling fire stories or just stories in general, and really having a good time with each other.
And we're not saying that's wrong to do, but probably not do that every time. But that's, again, something you have to talk about with your spouse.
Yeah. You guys got to make that judgment call, but
I will try to talk to the spouse right now. Ladies, like I said, stereotypical, I know, whatever. Ladies, please, I understand you need help with kids. I understand you want to see your husband. I understand you may not see them as much as you want to anyways. It is going to benefit you, benefit them, benefit their safety on the department, on a call, if you let them do this. Not, like I said, it doesn't have to be every time. Just come up with a compromise.
Yep. Just know where you guys stand on it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to enforce this staying late or anything like that, but by all means, just understand where both sides are coming from. So if you have kids at home, and especially a small baby or something like that, yeah, you might have to go home right after practice. But, you know, if you can make that, you know, maybe you practice once a month and you can stay after for a half hour to an hour before you have to put the baby down or something like that, you know. It's worth it. So don't be afraid. So the next thing we have on our list is, if you have trouble with something, ask and get one-on-one help. And that's a hard one for a lot of firefighters to do. Yeah.
Either your pride is too high that you don't want to ask for help, or you think you know something, or your confidence is too low and you're afraid to ask for help. I feel like it's usually one or the other.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's pretty simple, but it'll help you out so much in your career, because you don't want to not understand something on the first day you come to practice, and then 3 years down the road realize you still don't understand what that practice was about.
Yeah. Or go through something on practice, and then you go to a call that you just happen to use that same thing that you should have learned in practice, and you did not take the time to ask somebody about it. You know, like, you're going to beat yourself up about it. It may not be that big deal during the incident, but you're going to be like, why in the heck did I not ask?
Exactly.
So that sucks.
For me, that was drafting.
Yeah?
Yeah, like, it seemed like everyone else in practice understood how to pull a draft and what was going on. And for me, like, I like to understand the mechanical side of it. I'm very mechanically minded. So, like, just do this and pull this lever and you got a draft. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, I had to actually know
why it was getting a draft.
Yeah, how this was actually happening. And I had to go ask Nate after practice, say, okay, explain this to me. What is happening? And he sat down and told me, okay, this is what's happening. When you pull this lever, this is what's going on in the pump. And actually breaking it down to the point where I actually mechanically understood what was happening, and then all of a sudden everything made sense.
Yeah.
And it was so much easier after that point, and I can draft with almost anything we got now because I understand what's going on, and I have the knowledge to possibly fix it or be able to get around it in a way something would break or something like that, you know?
Everyone learns differently. Is one of the big things here. everyone learns differently. So just because he explained it to you like that doesn't mean it's going to make sense to me in my brain. Just because they go over something in practice one way doesn't mean it's going to resonate with everyone.
Yep. Another one for you is SCBA work. How long did it take to get your SCBA on under a minute? I
don't know if I can still do it in under a minminute yet. I am still working on it.
We need to go back and practice again.
Oh my goodness. I keep trying. I really do. Because it wasn't even necessarily all under a minute. It was, you have to get so much done in a minute and then the other half done in a minute. Well, I can get one part done in way under a minute and the other one takes me over a minute. And I feel like I should be able to do both in one section. In one big 2-minute thing.
But back to the topic here. We actually came in and worked one-on-one with it to the point where you could do that.
Kind of. I'm still not there yet. I'm close.
You were there at one point.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were.
I wasn't ever there.
Yes, you were. Don't lie.
I was always at like a minute and a half.
Don't be humble.
Well, I don't like lying to people.
Well, fine. Don't lie to people. Anyway, so we worked on that one-on-one until you were comfortable with it, and maybe might not have got to that goal yet, but you've gotten immensely better with doing it.
Oh, definitely. I've gotten so good at making sure things are right. Even if it takes me a little bit longer than a minute. Like, usually I think, I'm about a minute, 20, minute and a half. But that extra 20 or 30 seconds, honestly, on a fire scene is not going to be that crazy. For what we go to, I should say.
It depends on who you talk to.
It depends on who you talk to, whatever. Anyways, but those extra 20, 30 seconds, I think it probably hurts me that I'm so detail-oriented. But I know I am 100% ready to go.
It means you're not getting burned.
Yes, it means I'm not going to get burned when I'm inside. Whereas some of the other people who may be able to do it in a minute aren't necessarily going to do it perfectly.
Right.
So.
And I like making fun of you anyway, so.
Yeah.
It was a good time, had by all. So, bringing up the SCBA deal, that brings down a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Of the new guys anyway. Don't get offended by it when people give you crap about it.
Okay.
It's like, I give you crap all the time about either being able to do something or not being able to do something, but it's all in good fun.
Yes.
Like, not like not being able to put on your SCBA or something like that. Like, I'd give you crap for it, don't get me wrong, but it was all in good fun, and you got a lot of crap from the guys learning things, but it was also so you became part of the guys.
Yeah.
And so don't take the crap that they throw at you or give to you in a bad way.
Yes.
Take it because they're having fun with you, and I don't know the best way to explain it. There's a difference between bullying you and giving you crap because they're just making fun of you, and giving you crap because they're having fun with you.
Yes. I think always assume that somebody's giving you crap to have fun with you unless it becomes over excessive. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
Then you can start putting it into the bullying category. But go ahead and just assume that everything is just crap, trying to have fun with you. If they treat everybody else like that, it's not bullying. I'm sorry. It's just having fun.
So yeah, if they start throwing crap at you because, you can't put your SCBA on in a minute, either as a rookie it's kind of hard, but you can also throw it back at them.
Yeah.
And make them do it. I don't know, something stupid like that, but...
I throw crap at the guys all the time now. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much crap that flies around here at this department.
We were talking about going through one of our training exercises and having to pull a dummy back through. I'm like, oh, so I could go ahead and pull back through then.
Exactly.
I think it took him a while to figure out I was calling him a dummy, but he eventually got it.
Yep. So if someone gives you crap, don't take it the wrong way. Fire department, the fire service in general is full of it, and you will see it everywhere.
Yeah.
So take it, love it, throw it back at them. It'll just keep coming. So
it's a bonding experience. It's basically you're turning back into your siblings, if you have siblings, back when you're growing up, giving each other crap, picking on each other. It's all in good fun. Nobody else is allowed to do it, but you are. It's kind of what we say here in the station too. Everyone in your station's allowed to give each other crap, but people outside your station not so much.
Yeah, exactly. So they are your brothers and sisters in this case, so give them crap like they're your brothers and sisters.
Yep.
So. I wish I could remember more specifics, but it happens so often that I can't remember anything right now. But there's so much crap that flies around here, giving each other crap and problems and all that kind of stuff. And even our little Lego exercise that we did, and people are keying each other over the mic and stuff just to screw with each other. And it's a blast, and don't take it the wrong way. None of it's personal.
Yeah.
Just take it and love it.
All right, next one. If you don't know where something is, please ask. My goodness, don't waste the time. That's just stupid. Okay, so this is specifically talking about, like, on scene. And I used to be this way. I used to, like, go around the truck. If somebody was asking me for something at a fire, I'd go around the truck trying every single compartment to look for it because I couldn't remember where it was at, and I didn't want to look like an idiot in front of everybody, and I couldn't find it. Or I'd find it, but it'd be, like, 5 minutes later or something like that. And they'd be like, where the heck have you been?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do that.
You have to make your own or something?
Exactly.
That's some of the crap we get. It takes you so long to find a tool. What, you have to go make your own, or you have to go buy one?
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that. It's just stupid. If you don't know where something is, especially as a rookie, you're not expected to know where things are. Just ask. And if you're not a rookie and you don't remember where something is, just ask. I cannot tell you how many times even I've been asked by an officer, or more specifically, even recently, our assistant chief. He didn't know where something was, and he asked me. Just saying. It happens all the time.
I remember my first years on the fire department, I used to go call from the chief, hey, do you remember where we put this, or where this is out on the truck? And it's not because he didn't know, it's just because
he knew you knew.
I spent the time to get to know all our trucks because I was so into it and stuff, and he's like, oh, he knows. He's been through this stuff tons of times, you know, and it was just easier for him to call and ask me, and
rather than looking through all the trucks himself.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like.
But yeah, if you don't know where something is, just ask. My goodness, especially on scene, it saves time. And if you guys have learned anything about the fire service, especially in structure fires and even in some bigger grass fires, time is very important because fires can double in size in 60 seconds or something they say now.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Tell you.
I'm pretty sure it's fires double in size every 50 to 60 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
Yep. So don't be afraid to ask. And if you find that you don't know where a lot of stuff is, get familiar with your trucks.
Yes. Spend time at the station and just look through them. We have truck checks that we do here.
Yeah, and they're done for the reason of making sure everything's on the truck, but they're also done so that people get familiar with where the equipment is on our trucks.
Yeah.
And so spend some time down there at the station and get to know where those tools are on those trucks and be that guy that people call and say, hey, where is this?
Yeah, as an addition to not being afraid to ask where things are, if you're short like me, I'm 5'2". If you can't reach something...
I thought you were 5'4".
I'm 5'2".
You've gotten shorter then, because there's a foot difference between us. Because I'm 6'4".
There's over a foot difference between us.
I guess, my bad.
There's an approximate foot difference between us, I think is what we've always said. Anyways, I'm 5'2", and...
Depends on what heels I'm wearing.
Spoiler, I don't wear heels, it's just fire boots. Depend on which fire boots I'm wearing, gives me the extra heel.
What step I'm standing on?
What step I'm standing on. Oh my goodness. Okay, so little rabbit trail. Our fire chief was saying, so I didn't know this. On our ladder truck, we actually have this little step that comes out for running the pump stuff on the ladder. And I didn't know you were supposed to use that in case for some reason, either I don't know, what was it, wires or something hit the water?
Do you know why that step's there?
Something with the wires, something hitting the water. That way you're not, touching the ground or the water or something.
Right, you're not grounded if you hit a power line with that truck.
Okay.
You're not grounded, so you don't get shocked.
Anyways, nobody uses that step. I didn't even know it was there. And I've been on this department for how long? I had no idea it was there. And pulled it out one day, and it's like, what? And he's just like, yeah. He's like, actually, you'd probably like it. You'd actually be at the right size for this truck then.
Because if you pull that step out and stand on it, you have to hunch over to run the pump.
Yeah, everybody else has to hunch over. I would be at the perfect height to finally run that truck. Oh, it was amazing. Anyway, so for being someone short, going back on topic, being somebody short, if you can't reach something, ask for help. There's a Halligan in the worst spot on one of our trucks I cannot reach. And there are some of our trucks, and I've gotten used to jumping and to be able to close some of our doors that everybody laughs at me for when we're leaving scene or whatnot, because I have to jump to close them. Specifically, on one truck, there's a flashlight that I can reach the flashlight, but to be able to get it out, you have to actually push up on it. I can't get it up high enough to get it out. So if someone wants a flashlight off this truck, I have to ask somebody else for help. And I remember our old fire chief just told me, hey, don't jump. Don't ask somebody else to get it for you. Get one of the other guys, tell them to kneel down on their hands and knees and use them as a step stool.
I'd say you about need your own personal step stool on all the trucks.
Pretty much. They are not set up with short people in mind.
Well, was just as short as you are, and he had problems too.
Yep. So if you're short, don't have issues with asking people for help. Don't try to be prideful. Just ask for help, get it done, deal with the crap you're gonna get from the guys, because it's gonna happen. Live with it. I have fun with it all the time.
Yep. Our lockers are set up basically on a step, and the top of them is, from the floor, is about 6 foot.
Yeah. And
we had an officer here for the longest time that was Taylor's height, and we have a bench that sits in front of our lockers so we can sit down and get dressed. And he actually had to get up on the bench to reach his helmet on top of the locker, and he got so much crap for that, but he was a good officer, though. So
I even do that when I'm putting stuff in your locker, though. I stand on that bench to put stuff on top.
So, yeah, don't be afraid to ask, and you're going to get crap for it. That's fine. Just take it and deal it back. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Tell them that you're not hitting your head and you're smarter than them because you're not hitting their head all the time or something. I don't know.
I tell them all the advantages of being a short person.
Yep. Anyway, so yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Saves time, and if you don't know, get familiar with the trucks. Mm-hmm. So, last thing that we have down.
One we got.
Jeez, this is gonna be a short one.
A short one?
Yep, it'll be a short one. I'll put it out there, then we'll go into it here. Learn all you can, because this job can kill you. Mm-hmm. And so learn all you can, and keep your passion about the job, because this, I know everyone says it, especially the career guys, but this is the best job in the world.
Yeah, and just because we are volunteers does not mean that's any different for us.
Fires don't care whether you're paid or you volunteer your time for it. They all act the same way. They all do the same things. Yep. So, love this job. Find your passion in it. Whether it's driving the truck and running a pump, or it's the man on the nozzle, or an officer, find your little niche in it and keep your passion for it and keep your knowledge growing for it. And the more you can learn about this job, the safer you're going to be. And the more you can help people. Yeah. And yes, this job can kill you. But as long as you keep your wits about you, the risk of that is fairly low.
Yeah. Wow, that's really heavy.
That was a heavy one. Can we come up with one more to not leave it on such a... So, yeah, learn all you can about this job and keep your passion for this job. Because that is what will keep you in this department, and it can get very frustrating at times, for sure. But it has become such a part of our lives now that even if we were to move out of this community, we would look to it in a different community. We wouldn't stop volunteering by any means.
Oh, definitely. I talked about this in the first episode, how I didn't even know volunteer firefighting was a thing, and now I can't see, honestly, a life of mine without it. Even if something would render me paralyzed or who knows what, I would still have to be a part of it in some way. I love it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in the first episode I mentioned I got into the fire service for the second family because I didn't have any friends here. Mm-hmm. And that's what really brought me into the fire service, and I have found my passion here teaching people and training people and learning as much as I can about it, not only to keep myself safe, but it's what I love doing. You got to find your niche in the fire department, and it's not for everyone. If you're on it for a year and you decide it's not for you, that's how it goes. But definitely try it, because once you love it, you love it. Yeah. Don't be afraid to reach out for more and keep continuing to learn. My passion here is not only training people, but I love doing hose work. And I love knowing more about the structure fires and stuff like that. And it's really what drives me to become a better firefighter. And it really what drives me to become an officer and even assistant chief for a brief time, is because I want to make this department better, and that's my passion. And I want everyone else on this department to be better. Don't be afraid as a new firefighter to want more from the fire service. Even though the fire service doesn't owe you anything and you should leave it better when you're gone, don't be afraid to be passionate about it.
Yeah. If you are on a volunteer department that is really small and you want more from it, don't be afraid to either reach out to other area departments, to reach out to those Facebook groups, to those other training companies that travel around. Don't be afraid to find out what your state associations are doing for trainings and doing those, or other neighboring states. Travel to other conferences that are outside of your area. Don't be afraid to go and reach out and start making friends and connections, being able to build your own knowledge because you want to learn more. Don't be stunted by what your department is if they're holding you back.
That's the big thing here for a while, is we kind of didn't know where to go. For us in the fire department, we kind of, I can't say we hit the top of what we were going to do here, but in a lot of ways we kind of had, and we started reaching out and going to conferences and stuff like that. And we started making more connections through the state association, through these different conferences, through different departments. And we have a lot of friends out there now that really help drive our passion for it and want us to keep doing it.
Well,
it's added so much to our career too.
Oh yeah, to us specifically, and we're able to bring so much back to our department, and on top of that, even if we can't bring everything back, we're able to bring some stuff back that we learned from other places. But we're satisfying our own need for wanting to learn more, wanting to be better, wanting to know more about this fire service thing.
It keeps our passion alive for it, and it's not something we got burned out on. Pun intended. That's really helped our passion for it, considering that we were kind of at least me personally, I was kind of at the top of our department for a while and didn't know where to go with it. Like I kind of felt like I kind of almost in a way maxed out my potential, aside from becoming actual chief or something. Like I felt like I knew everything I was going to learn here. And
you're going to learn other tips and tricks from people, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. And the only thing I had left to do here was just gain more experience and keep doing it. And by reaching out, I mean, it really drove our passion up, and making those connections and other people we can talk fire with and stuff like that. So I guess my final tip for you is just keep that passion alive, whatever it may be for you, whether it's reaching out to other departments or it's reaching out to other departments for more training, stepping up in the department and becoming an officer or a training officer and really teaching other people. Just find your passion for it, and you'll get way more from the fire department than you ever thought.
Yeah.
So, and you can leave it better than when you came. It's not a funny note by any means, but that's my little spiel on it, is just keep your passion alive for it. And you'll be surprised actually how easy it is once you get into it. How easy it is to keep that passion. And continuously learn. Always learn.
And we have our down months where we're not as passionate about it as we always are, things like that. And we have our up months where we're way more into it than it. And that's going to happen with everybody. But stick with it.
Yeah. Be strong. Have a good time with it. It's a lifelong deal that it is truly the best job in the world, and you'll quickly figure that out. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah.
We made it through the whole deal and didn't screw up too much, so let us know what you guys think. Again, reach out to us.
You guys are still listening, so that's a positive note.
At least we think you are. I don't know. Maybe you didn't make it this far. Maybe we should put a little funny in there.
If you listen this far, comment pineapple. Send us an email with pineapple in the description, and I don't know. You'll get a high five. I don't know.
Who knows? What are we going to talk about next time?
Next time we're going to go into in-house trainings. So you're going to get a little look.
There's your spoiler.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you listen this far, you know what the next one's on.
Good luck. It's going to be a 2-parter, so hope you guys are ready for the ride.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
Be sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to us.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Couplings Fire Podcast.
See you next time.